I got 3 A stars and accepted into a top university, and I did it without becoming a study zombie. How? By hacking my brain's pleasure button with a simple trick called dopamine loading. Stop scrolling now, and I'll show you how to trade 5 minutes of discipline for a guilt-free evening of fun and amazing grades. Hey, what's up, guys? So you clicked on this video because you want to know how to smash your exams, get those amazing grades, and maybe even get into a top university, all without turning your student life into some kind of painful monastic experience. You want to enjoy your life, right? You want to chill, watch some Netflix, hang out with friends, and actually feel good about it. I totally get it. I've been there. I managed to pull off 3 A stars in my A-levels and got accepted into the University of Hong Kong, and I did it all while still living a pretty normal, actually fun life. And the secret? It's a super short hack that takes like 5 minutes to wrap your head around, and it's called dopamine loading. Now, I've been using this hack for ages without even knowing there was a name for it. And today, I'm going to share some genuinely actionable tips you can implement, like literally starting today. Trust me on this. Stick around until the end, and I guarantee you'll start getting better grades in less time, and yeah, you'll still actually enjoy being a student. So let's dive into the core problem, the dopamine disaster, and look at the graph that basically sums up why you're struggling to focus. Imagine your day starting right here. This is your dopamine. This is essentially the emotional energy that drives you to do stuff. Most people's dopamine levels throughout the day look kind of like this messy, jagged line. Let me walk you through it because you're probably on this roller coaster right now. You wake up, right? Maybe the alarm goes off, maybe you snooze it a couple of times, and then BAM. What's the first thing you do? You roll over, grab your phone, and you start scrolling. Instagram, TikTok, checking DMs, watching a couple of random YouTube shorts. You know the drill. That, my friends, is already a massive dopamine spike. Your brain is getting a huge effortless hit of pleasure and novelty immediately. It feels good for a second, but here's the kicker. Now you have to get to work. You have to open your textbook, you have to look at that boring essay prompt, or you have to start that practice paper. And because you just treated your brain to a shot of pure high-octane pleasure, it's now trying to get back down to baseline. You are now in a really, really low dopamine state. And what happens in that state? Everything is difficult. It's like trying to run a marathon right after eating a massive sugar rush that's already crashed. You feel bored. You feel annoyed. You can't focus because your brain has already been exposed to that ridiculously high spike of easy dopamine. You've set the bar for fun way too high, way too early. This is where the classic student struggle happens. And trust me, this was my life when I was younger. You sit down to study. You manage maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes of actual focused work. Then you get that itchy feeling, that overwhelming boredom. And what do? You know it. You reach for the phone again. Another scroll on Instagram, another deep dive into a YouTube channel. Boom. That's another temporary, artificial dopamine spike. You snap out of it, realizing you're procrastinating again. You go back to your work. You're back in that low dopamine trough. You get bored of it because you literally can't focus. And then comes the next common spike, lunch. You grab a huge carby meal. Unhealthy food, maybe unnecessary snacks, something with a lot of sugar. You get that big, satisfying food rush. Another dopamine spike, maybe not as high as the phone scroll, but definitely a disruptive one. So you spend your entire day operating in these wildly fluctuating states. You wake up, scroll, try to work, scroll again, or maybe turn on Netflix for just one episode, crash, eat a high-sugar lunch, crash again, and repeat. Your brain is just bouncing between these artificial high dopamine states and these hellish low dopamine troughs. When your brain fluctuates this much, it literally cannot focus and lock in on difficult work. Let me tell you, when you're in one of those low dopamine states, sitting down to study becomes a hellish experience. Why? Because your brain is constantly thinking about the stuff you just did. The quick, easy hits of pleasure. For some people, it's not even just social media. I'll confess, for me sometimes it was even worse. Some days, that initial dopamine spike when I woke up was from something like watching inappropriate content. With that kind of hyperstimulus, the dopamine spike goes all the way up here, literally off the chart. And when you try to work after that, forget about it. It's just not possible. This is what most people's dopamine profile looks like, and this is exactly what mine looked like before I figured out this hack. The key point to understand is that our brains operate highly on contrast. When we get these ridiculously high peaks of artificial dopamine, and I want to stress the word artificial here, Think scrolling, watching highly edited videos, sugary junk food, followed by those extremely low troughs, the difficult low dopamine work, like doing past papers or exercising, becomes completely unappetizing. Your primitive caveman brain simply cannot comprehend why it should struggle with difficult tasks when it knows that a few taps on a screen can deliver instant, enormous pleasure. You've created an unnatural contrast, and that contrast makes the hard work feel a million times harder than it actually is. The good news. The solution is simple, and it uses this exact same principle of contrast, but in the opposite productive direction. And that's what we'll talk about next with the actual hack, dopamine loading. All right, so we've established the problem, the dopamine disaster. You start the day with a massive artificial spike, and that just sets you up for a miserable, boring, unproductive study session later. It kills your focus. It makes every task feel like climbing Mount Everest. But what if you could flip that script? What if you could use that same principle of high and low contrast, but save the high points for when there actually aren't? That's where the dopamine loading hack comes in. It's about being deliberate with your dopamine release, and it starts the moment you wake up. I started implementing this without realizing what it was called, back when I was in year 12, right around exam season when the pressure was really on. And here is what my dopamine profile started to look like then. Notice the difference? No more crazy jagged peaks and painful low troughs during the day. The single, most crucial element of dopamine loading is the clean start. Think about it. At 7 a.m., when the alarm goes off, your brain is actually in a pretty natural neutral state. It hasn't been corrupted yet. So, the first thing I would do? I didn't reach for my phone. In fact, my phone was usually charging across the room or even outside my bedroom. I didn't eat breakfast immediately either. Instead, I'd focus on the only mildly stimulating things. I would go take a shower. I'm talking about the simplest sensations here. The water hitting my skin, brushing my teeth, that's it. Minimal sensory input, minimal dopamine release. Then, I would step outside, even for just a few minutes, to get some sunlight. Sunlight is natural dopamine, yes, but it's a healthy, gentle, non-artificial release. It helps regulate your circadian rhythm without giving you that harsh mental crash. I do my simple morning routine, and that was it. The entire goal for the first hour of the day is to keep your brain operating at a nice, calm, low, and steady dopamine level. You are effectively setting your baseline for pleasure incredibly low. Now, you head off to school, or if you're studying at home, you head to your desk. Let's say it's 8:30 a.m., this is where the magic really starts to happen. From 8:30 a.m. until say noon, your job is simple. Study, study, study. You are essentially maintaining that low, steady state. This means absolutely no high dopamine activities during this entire block. No scrolling on your phone. No playing video games. No watching YouTube or Netflix during a study break. No zoning out on social media. This is the key trade-off. Because you avoided that massive artificial spike first thing in the morning, your baseline for fun is so low that sitting down to do hard work, past papers, essay planning, revision, doesn't feel like a punishment anymore. It actually feels manageable. Your brain isn't constantly battling the memory of the hyperstimulus it just received. And here's another little trick I did to maintain that low baseline. I didn't eat anything until lunchtime. Intermittent fasting, or just delaying breakfast, helps prevent that big blood sugar spike and crash that can mess with your focus mid-morning. By the time 12 p.m. rolled around, I had already banked a massive chunk of incredibly focused, high-quality work. I had spent the morning actually using my brain power instead of depleting it on easy distractions. Even when you take a break, the goal is to keep it naturally stimulating, not artificially overwhelming. When I finally ate lunch, I kept it low carbohydrate. I literally used to ask the cafeteria lady to hold the rice. A low-carb, protein-heavy lunch means no afternoon energy crash, and critically, no huge, distracting dopamine spike from sugar or processed junk food. This allowed me to keep my focus tight all the way until 3 p.m. when school finished. So, let's look at the graph again. From 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., the line is low, but it's steady. It's flat. This is the state of mind where real work gets done. You're not fighting your internal urges, you're just flowing with the work. You've done the hardest stuff when your brain was the cleanest. And because you've already logged several hours of hard, focused work, you've earned the right to look forward to the reward. You've earned the right to load your dopamine later. The contrast is what makes the work easy and the reward satisfying. And trust me, the reward when it finally hits is so much better because you actually feel guilt-free about it. It's about trading that cheap, instant morning dopamine hit for the huge, satisfying, guilt-free rewards that we're going to talk about next. The golden hour. Hey, real quick, if this whole idea of trading distraction for focus, that clean start we just talked about, is clicking for you and you're ready to implement deeper, day-by-day changes, I've got something just for you. My new ebook, 30 Days to a Better You, takes the principles of dopamine loading and breaks them down into simple daily challenges. No quick fixes, just 30 days of actionable steps to rewire your habits, boost your energy, and lock in that focus. Stop fighting procrastination and start building momentum. The link is right below. Grab your copy and start your 30-day transformation today. All right, so we've successfully navigated the morning without a dopamine disaster. We've kept that dopamine baseline low and steady. We've banked 3 or 4 hours of high quality, focused work because our brain wasn't busy fighting off the urge to scroll. That's a huge win. But the day is far from over. Now we need to talk about how you manage the middle part of the day, specifically your breaks and perhaps most importantly, your fuel. Because the fuel you put into your body, especially during those crucial midday hours, can be just as much of a dopamine spike as watching an episode of your favorite show. Around 12 p.m. or 1 p.m., the hunger sets in. And for most students, this is a major danger zone. Why? Because the default student lunch is often a disaster for focus. Think about it, a huge sandwich, a massive bowl of pasta, maybe some fries, and definitely a sugary soda or a snack. All of that is high glycemic. It's loaded with simple carbohydrates and sugar. When you dump all that sugar and those simple carbs into your system, you get a huge insulin spike. And that leads to, you guessed it, a massive artificial dopamine rush. You feel that brief moment of satisfaction, that food high, but what always follows that kind of spike? The crash. Suddenly, you're tired. You're groggy. You're sitting back down at your desk at 2 p.m. And your brain is telling you, I need a nap, or maybe I need another quick hit of stimulation. You've just recreated the morning's dopamine disaster, but this time, you did it with a fork. You've sent your brain's energy and focus levels plummeting right when you need to start your second major work block. The secret to maintaining that beautiful, steady, low dopamine work state well into the afternoon is managing the food spikes. During my intense study periods, I basically adopted a focused diet for lunch. I intentionally ate a low-carbohydrate, high-protein meal. I'm talking chicken, fish, eggs, and a mountain of vegetables or salad. When I was at school, I literally walked into the cafeteria and told the server, no rice, please. It sounds extreme, but the difference in my focus was night and day. When you eat primarily protein and healthy fats, you get a slow, steady release of energy. You don't get that crazy spike in blood sugar, and you don't get the accompanying dopamine rush that precedes the focus-killing crash. Your energy remains stable. And critically, your brain's baseline remains low. It stays in the this is the time for hard work zone. Okay, so you've eaten lunch and maintained your low baseline. You still need a proper break, right? You can't work nonstop for 10 hours. Here's where you swap artificial dopamine for natural dopamine. Instead of scrolling on your phone for 30 minutes, I'd encourage you to move your body. My go-to was hitting the gym or just going for a walk outside. When I went to the gym, I didn't listen to music with crazy beats or watch videos between sets. I just focused on lifting the weight. This is a crucial distinction. Exercise is a fantastic, natural dopamine release, but it's a healthy one. It's tied to an accomplishment. Lifting something heavy, covering a distance. And it doesn't give you the hyperstimulus of a screen. By getting some sunlight, moving your muscles, and maybe even socializing a bit with friends over that low-carb lunch, you get just enough natural reward to feel refreshed, but not so much artificial stimulus that your brain refuses to cooperate when you get back to your books. By 2 p.m., you should be sitting down for your final, big block of work, energized by a steady meal and a healthy, natural break. This is where you put in the final push. Maybe tackling a second pass paper, completing a big assignment, or doing detailed revision. All the way until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., the beauty of this structure is that by the time you finish this block, you've done maybe 7, 8, or even 9 hours of real high-quality work. You've earned the A grade. And now, for the first time all day, you are ready for the fun stuff. Your brain is craving a high dopamine experience because you've deprived it all day, and you're about to give it a massive, guilt-free reward. This sets the stage for the big finish, the golden hour. The time when you finally get to load up on dopamine without sacrificing your grades or your future. And that's what we're diving into next. Okay, we've done the hard part. We started the day clean, we avoided the morning scroll, we powered through hours of focused work on a steady, low-carb diet, and we finished our final massive work block. It's maybe 7 p.m. or possibly 6 p.m. on a super productive day. You have completed everything on your academic to-do list. The hard work is done. Now for the reward. Remember how we talked about contrast? Throughout the entire day, your dopamine levels have been low, steady, and focused. You have successfully lowered your brain's baseline expectation for pleasure. You've taught it that the only reward it gets is tied directly to performance. Now that the performance is complete, it's time for the load. This is your golden hour. The time you load up your dopamine, and because the contrast is so massive, the enjoyment you get from your fun activities is magnified. In my routine, from about 7 p.m. until 10 p.m., that's when my dopamine graph would finally spike. And the best part? It's a completely guilt-free spike. Unlike lunch, dinner is the perfect time to incorporate that high-carbohydrate meal. Since you're done working for the day and are heading into relaxation mode, you don't have to worry about the sugar crash impacting your focus. In fact, a higher carb meal can actually aid in relaxation and sleep. The exact opposite of what you needed during the day. I would load up on things like rice, potatoes, or pasta alongside my protein. I'm not talking about junk food or fast food. We still want to be healthy, right? But a satisfying high-carb meal that feels like a genuine reward. This meal gives you a gentle, natural dopamine lift, signaling to your brain, the day is over. You're safe. You can relax now. After dinner, this is when you deploy the big guns, your favorite artificial dopamine sources. You've earned them. I remember I would go to the library, but instead of sitting at my usual desk, I'd go to the comfy couch far away from the study area. This physical separation is important. It tells your brain, this area is for work, this area is for play. This is the time I'd watch a few episodes of my favorite anime. I was binge watching Attack on Titan and Bleach 1000-Year Blood War during that period. I could sit there and watch high-energy, highly edited content, and honestly, I didn't mind. I wasn't fighting the urge to study because the studying was already done. This is the key distinction. Most students watch Netflix instead of studying. The enjoyment is tainted by guilt and followed by the dread of having to work later. Dopamine loaders. Watch Netflix as a reward for studying. The enjoyment is pure, guilt-free, and tastes so much sweeter because you've earned it. Sometimes, instead of watching a show, maybe I'd play a video game for an hour or call a friend and just hang out. It was all about doing those high dopamine activities that most students use to procrastinate, but now you're using them as fuel for the next day. By 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., you've had your fun. Your dopamine spike was massive, satisfying, and intentional. Then you head to bed. This whole process. Dopamine loading actually makes waking up the next day easier. Why? Because your brain now connects hard work with an enormous, guaranteed reward. When you wake up and your brain suggests, hey, maybe scroll TikTok for 30 minutes, the stronger, trained part of your brain says, no, wait. If we skip that cheap morning hit, we get 3 hours of guilt-free anime tonight. Let's do the hard work first. You are literally tricking your brain into preferring hard work in the morning because the reward system is so much better at night. Your days become less about battling procrastination and more about clearing the path to your evening reward. Your days will look more fun, more cheerful, and more enjoyable because the work isn't the penalty. It's the currency you use to buy the fun. This simple switch changes everything. And in the next and final topic, we'll summarize how to make this dopamine loading technique stick and turn it into a powerful lifelong habit. All right, we've come full circle. We exposed the dopamine disaster that kills your focus. We learned how to achieve a low baseline, high focus state. We mastered fueling the study engine with the right foods and natural breaks. And we learned how to earn and truly enjoy the golden hour of rewards. Now let's tie it all together and talk about why this simple technique, dopamine loading, is the switch that literally changes everything about your productivity and your grades. The core concept is so simple, but profoundly effective. You cannot enjoy easy pleasure before difficult work. Most people try to study while their brain is still buzzing from an artificial high, whether it's sugar, social media, or something more intense. That creates negative contrast, making the hard work feel like absolute torture. Dopamine loading flips the switch and creates positive contrast. By intentionally delaying all those highly stimulating high dopamine activities, the ones labeled with an A for artificial on our original graph, you build up a natural psychological craving. By the time 7 p.m. hits and you've completed your work, your brain is ready. It's primed. It's been operating at a neutral, focused baseline all day. And now that explosion of fun feels 1,000 times more rewarding. This method doesn't require you to cut out social media or Netflix forever. It just requires you to change when you access it. You transform it from a tool of procrastination into a powerful motivational lever. This is more than just a scheduling hack. It's about behavioral psychology and actually rewiring your brain. When you consistently follow the dopamine loading structure, you create a powerful neurological link. $$ text, hard work right arrow text, low baseline right arrow text, achieved goal right arrow text, massive, guilt-free reward $. Your brain is incredibly smart. It quickly learns that the biggest, most satisfying rewards are only available after a long period of focused effort. This is the definition of delayed gratification, but structured in a way that provides massive, tangible benefits every single day. Think of it this way. When you wake up, your brain is no longer excited by the idea of a quick scroll because it knows that the ultimate pleasure, the anime binge, the gaming session, the time with friends, is only available later. The desire for the better reward effortlessly outweighs the desire for the immediate but cheaper reward. This is what allows you to start tackling the hardest tasks first thing in the morning. The classic eat the frog principle. Doing that challenging past paper from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. doesn't feel like a sacrifice anymore. It feels like the necessary step toward your guaranteed evening freedom. So how do you make this simple switch starting tonight, the night before? Charge your phone outside your bedroom. This is non-negotiable. The clean start 7 a.m. No screens, no high sugar foods. Natural activities only. Shower, brush your teeth, maybe get some sunlight. Keep that baseline low and steady. The low dopamine work block 8 a.m. 12 p.m. Tackle your hardest task first. No checking social media or responding to non-essential messages. The focus fuel 12 p.m. Low carb, high protein lunch to avoid the crash. Break with natural dopamine. A walk, stretching, or light exercise. The final push 2 p.m. 7 p.m. Power through your final work block, maintaining that steady state. The golden hour 7 p.m. 10 p.m. Dopamine load. This is the time for your favorite high dopamine activities. The binge watch, the games, the celebratory high carb meal. Enjoy it fully and completely, knowing you've earned every second. This isn't about becoming a productivity robot. It's about structuring your day so that your work is easy and your fun is maximized. It's the simple switch that allowed me to get those A stars while still enjoying my student life. Give dopamine loading a try, and I guarantee you'll see a massive change in your focus, your stress levels, and, most importantly, your results. If you're interested in diving even deeper into study techniques and want more personalized advice on how to implement hacks like this one, you might want to check out my community. The link is in the description below. But as always, may God guide us on the right path, and I'll see you in the next video.